Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into just 5 verses, the very last words in the Gospel of Matthew. Now, they might seem simple on the surface, but this one command given on a remote mountainside sparked a global movement that would go on to reshape history. All right, so we're going to break this down verse by verse, from 16 all the way to 20. We'll get into the crucial setting, the surprisingly human reaction of the disciples, the absolutely staggering command they were given, and of course, the final promise that really tied it all together. So, where does this all kick off? Well, our story begins not in some grand temple, but on a remote mountain. Verse 16 sets the stage for us, with the 11 remaining disciples heading to a specific, prearranged spot to meet the resurrected Jesus. Now pay attention to that location, Galilee. This was no accident. Remember, after the crucifixion, Jerusalem was the heart of religious authority and, frankly, incredibly dangerous for Jesus' followers. A big public get-together there? Unthinkable. So this choice of location, it's a huge strategic move. Galilee was a safe haven. In fact, some people even think this might be the meeting the Apostle Paul talks about later, where Jesus appeared to over 500 followers at once, a crowd that could have never, ever gathered safely in hostile Jerusalem. Okay, so the disciples get there, they see him, and their reaction, captured in the very next verse, is one of the most honest and, psychologically fascinating moments in the entire text. Just let that sink in for a second. They worshipped him, but some doubted. It's such a raw, unfiltered detail. The writer doesn't try to paint this picture of a perfect, unified front. Nope. Instead, it captures this deeply human moment where profound faith and lingering uncertainty are literally in the same room at the same time. It really makes you stop and think, right? How can you be looking at what you believe is the resurrected Son of God and still have doubts? It tells you so much about their state of mind, the trauma they'd just been through, the sheer impossibility of what they were seeing. It's an incredibly authentic detail. So picture the scene. You've got this mix of total awe and nagging doubt. And it's right into that atmosphere that Jesus speaks. And his first words aren't some gentle greeting. They are a staggering declaration of authority that lays the groundwork for everything that comes next. All power is given unto me. Now, that's a really interesting way to phrase it, isn't it? It kind of sounds like he's just received this power. But if you've been following the story in the Gospels, it makes you wonder, didn't he already have this kind of authority? Oh, absolutely he did. Throughout his ministry, he had shown authority over pretty much everything you can think of: calming storms, casting out demons, forgiving sins, and even raising people from the dead. Power was not something he was lacking. So, what's the real point here? This statement isn't about him getting new power. It's about the universal recognition and public declaration of the divine authority he's always had. After the resurrection, it's being announced that this authority is supreme over everything, everywhere. And this idea pops up all over the New Testament. John's Gospel says he was God right from the start. Colossians says everything was created by him and for him. And Hebrews says he literally holds the universe together. It's this all-encompassing, ultimate authority that becomes the foundation for the command that's coming next. Okay, so with that foundation of absolute authority laid down, we get to the main event, the mandate itself. Because he has all authority, he now gives them a command that flows directly from it. And that little word, therefore, in the next verse, it's the key. And there you have it, the Great Commission. It's an instruction that you can really break down into 3 clear active commands that would go on to define a mission of his followers for the next 2,000 years. So it's a simple sequence, right? Go, teach, and baptize. But the part that was a total game changer, the part that would have absolutely blown their minds, was that second step: teach all nations. The Greek word used here is ethnos. It's actually where we get our word ethnic. It means all people groups. For these Jewish disciples, this was a radical, revolutionary idea. Their mission was suddenly not just for the people of Israel, it was for the entire world, including the Gentiles. And as we see later in the book of Acts, this was a concept that some of them really, really struggled to wrap their heads around at first. All right, so think about it. Jesus has just dropped this massive, what must have felt like an impossible, global task on their shoulders. So how does he wrap it all up? He concludes the entire Gospel of Matthew not with another command, but with one last instruction paired with an incredible promise. So this final verse has two key pieces. First, he tells them to teach people to do everything he commanded. But it's that second part, the promise, that makes the whole thing even possible. It's the assurance that underpins the entire commission. You're not going out there alone. Lo, I am with you always. And that final phrase, even unto the end of the world. Wow. Can you imagine hearing that? For those first disciples, those words would have carried an immense sense of urgency. It left them with a very real expectation that this end could happen in their lifetime, which must have compelled them to get moving immediately. So, when you really take a step back and look at the whole picture, it's just staggering, isn't it? You've got this small group of men, some of them worshiping, some still not even sure what they're seeing, on a remote hill in Galilee. And they were given a mandate that would eventually cross every border and touch every culture on earth. The question this leaves us with is simple, but it's huge. How did 5 short verses end up changing the world?